Well, I'm super excited because when Hitesh and the VULNCON team reached out, I'm like, of course, I can't miss this opportunity. I've been in, I was in Bangalore a long time ago. I actually studied in this space. In this city. I did my bachelor's before moving out. But again, a warm welcome to all of you. Thanks for coming. I can see that I can already feel the hacker energy, the hacker spirit in the room. So anyways, a bit about myself. Let's see if, I hope this starts working. There you go. So I've been in the cybersecurity space for about close to 2 decades now, but really I started much earlier, got curious when I was in the teens, not as early as 10 or 12 years old, like the hackers from the US, but a bit later, probably 15 or 16-ish. But really, I've been doing, I've been on the defensive side majority of my career. The past 10 years I was with Unit 42 focusing on intelligence, and now I've just started a startup. It's in the Intel space. But again, I have a bit more to share about how I started and all as we go through the talk, right? But why I'm really here is because there is a lot of hoo-ha on AI and AI taking a lot of jobs. Well, it is not, it's not that it is not taking, it is definitely taking a lot of jobs, including jobs in cybersecurity. There are big names, big cybersecurity companies slashing a lot of their very smart people, unfortunately. That's unfortunate, and to be honest, even there are people whom I know who have lost jobs, and these are not like people who are not performing. They were really good in what they do, right? So it's not like that will not happen. It will happen, but we really need to understand, there will be disruption. This has happened in the past, and this is where we are again. We are at a very disruptive period where until and unless we evolve with time, things will may be difficult, right? But the whole thing is the issue on anxiety or issues within our industry is not just at this time. Over the years, I've spoken at multiple conferences. A lot of people would come up to me after my talk and they were like, hey, this is so cool. I want to be like a researcher like you, but I don't know, like if I don't think I'm not, I'm probably not good enough for this. I know this and that, but it's not always about everyone knowing everything. I've learned, I've grown throughout the years. We all have a start, right? And there are issues in our industry. There is something called as the imposter syndrome, right? A lot of people do not acknowledge it, but we have always, all of us have had that at one point in our lives, if not multiple times. Just a raise of hands. Do you guys know what imposter syndrome is? Yeah, quite a lot. And how many have experienced it at least once? Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being honest. We all have that, have had it. We have compared ourselves, and we still do, right? But it's not that we all are different. We have our own positives, which can be much, we can be so much better than others whom we envy, right? So it's just that we beat ourselves too much. So over the years, I've seen this pattern. Even the people whom I admire, they told me that they have this imposter syndrome. So to me, like, hey, we have so many people who are having issues in our industry. Maybe we should do something. So I gave this talk at Black Hat, US, a couple of years ago, 2023 in Vegas. And it was part of the community talk. So in fact, to be honest, everyone in the room, I know here a lot of people were like probably too shy to raise their hands, but in that room, I know some of the There was this guy, he has exited companies. He's a founder. He has been speaking at Black Hat and DEF CON for 11 years, every year. And he said that he has imposter syndrome. Unbelievable, right? But that's the thing. It's not just about successful people or not so successful people. It's everywhere. So we want to strive more. We want to do more, right? But it's not like we need to beat ourselves so much. But unfortunately, social media, it's all about the numbers. How many vulnerabilities have you discovered? How many followers you have? And so forth. It's the same thing. It's not just about people who are doing marketing and others. Even within our industry, because we need acknowledgement, we want validation. It's the human behavior, right? But at the end of the day, we want to be aware of that. That is this really leading me to what we want, right? Again, these issues, what we are seeing with the whole AI thing, it has taken it to another level. But we have had a lot of these issues plaguing our industry for a while. But in that talk, I focused on a framework which helped me, which helped others whom I actually recommended. It's called the Ikigai. It's a concept from Japan. And it really, has a nice dimension. It's a Venn diagram where, when you can connect with what you love, what the world needs, what you get paid for, and also where you are good at. If all of this can merge together, that's your Ikigai, right? So you have to find what is your Ikigai. I figured mine. It's not just about cybersecurity. Even in cybersecurity, there will be something which brings you, or you know what that Ikigai is, right? And it's not always just about money. Yes, money gives us the material life and what we need. If, all of you, I'm 100% sure that if you were just thinking about money, you wouldn't be in this room, right? Hackers typically want to do something or make things better, right? If it was just about money, probably you would be in a financial event or something else. And it's not bad, we need all that, we need economy. Even we need money to run conferences like this, right? So we need to be entrepreneurial. But at the core, it's all about what you can do for the society, right? And this is where I talk about, I've been sharing this a lot about having that hacker ethos. It's the first thing where we may have all started is that curiosity in all of us, right? Hey, this is so cool. I want to learn something more about this. I started with that nature. I was curious. And then if we want to do something unique, you got to be creative. And you got to challenge the status quo. Our societies, our industries have built certain, so to say, ways to do things which are not effective or good enough, right? And this is where the hacker mindset or the hacker ethos comes in, where you challenge those status quos to make things better, to change things. And even now, when we talk about AI, the people behind it, those had the hacker mindset. Where we are, where things are being disrupted, it is those hackers. Because of those hackers, we are in this time, right? So disruption is inevitable. Of course, we talk about adaptability. This is where, it's super important that we adapt now. We should have the, capability or the mindset to adapt in this current situation. Of course, depth of knowledge. And one of the most important things, can everyone say what is here, which is super important, which keeps everything together? It's the purpose, right? We need a purposeful life. We need a purposeful career. Without purpose, everything falls apart. So we got to be relentless. Every time, there are stuff happening, the bad guys are relentless. There was this reporter in the US who published, he exposed some of the campaigns of a nation-state threat actor. They were not as sophisticated as some of their counterparts, But they were successful because they were relentless, right? And we should be the same. We have to be relentless. It does not matter at which level of the skill game you are at. If you are relentless, if you are purposeful, you will go there. So, unfortunately, our industry or this world, the media, has created certain stereotypes of a hacker, right? And then we try a lot of people I see on Twitter and social media, they try to replicate that. And this is this a male character with a hoodie and a dark scene. That's the hacker look, right? Well, that's the dark scene. People are like, hey, you are a hacker, so you must be doing all the bad, nasty stuff. This is unfortunately the narrative which has been pushed by the media, or should I say the old school media, right? Because those sells, hackers, these are bad guys doing bad things. But hackers are also, where we are with the tech scene, that is because of those hackers, because they wanted to do something better. And to me, this is not the way I look at of being a hacker, or this is not the definition of a hacker, right? I'm here today over the years because I connected with the hacker definition, which when I started, I connected with that, and that definition was very different. So to me, a hacker can be this girl who is trying to build something, who is defending. I look at her as a defender. And I'm not just putting another guy, I'm putting a girl, because there's also another thing. We do not have many women in our industry. Why so? Because a lot of students I've spoken to, they're like, hey, this whole thing, hackers are for guys. No, really? Why? I know a lot of women, my own colleagues, they are like badass, like really good, right, in what they do. And some of the smartest hackers in the world are actually girls, and whom I know personally. In fact, I have a daughter, and she's like, if you ask her, what does daddy do? She will tell you that daddy fights bad guys, right? And she so my company's name is RayvenX, and she calls herself Raven Girl. So she already has a name for her superhero character. But again, it's about how do we change this narrative which has been there in the industry, and then how can we get different types of people? It has to be more inclusive, right? Because there's so many smartness in the world, we can't let that go wasted, right? So I just wanted to quickly share a bit of how I started. There are lots of, back then when we started more than 20 years ago, it was not like the types of resources you have now. You have so much. I'm from the northeast of India, by the way. It's a beautiful place called Shillong. And, every day after school, I would go to this library before the bus comes and picks us up. And this library had these old American magazines. And one day I chanced upon a magazine called Popular Mechanics. I blurted that out. I wanted, to ask you guys, do you know, probably wouldn't even guess with these pages, right? But how many of you have actually seen or read a Popular Mechanics magazine? Anyone? No one? Wow. Am I that old? Okay. So Popular Mechanics used to be amazing. I would just go read those magazines because they would have all the latest tech back then. And that magazine had an article called as Catching Computer Crooks. And I had no idea, what this actually meant. Like computer crooks, who are they? And so I go back to my school. I had just started programming in GW Basic, and I asked, I'm this curious kid asking my teacher, I just read that there are bad guys like computer crooks. Who are they? Do they steal the computer? Even my teacher was like, what is this guy asking? She told me probably the answers, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. Your answers probably lie on the internet. or you should go search there. And back then I did not even own a computer. I would probably use the computers in school. We did not have internet. And only until 1999, I think around 99, 2000, we started having cyber cafes. Isn't it? Like around that time? Yeah. So the moment, that happened, I was like, man, I spent all my pocket money just spending there, just going. So I still remember, I actually, so I was in Pune. After 10th, I moved to Pune. I was in we had 24/7 cyber cafes. And I've not told this publicly, but I would spend, I would be there until 2, 3, 4 a.m.s. And once I actually got robbed in the middle of the night, somebody posing as a cop, and unfortunately, that was a bad experience. But, that's what I was doing. I was spending so much time in cyber cafes. And this was the start, for me, like I chanced upon an online hacker magazine called as Frack. How many of you know Frack? Okay, thank God, And you guys are also, some of you who have raised, I know that you're probably from my generation, right? The younger ones still don't know because you get all the stuff on YouTube and so many other resources. We did not have any of that. It was all Frack. There are these protocol analyzers. I would just go read RFC. I would actually take printout, go back to the rented place, and I would just try to understand. A lot of things did not make sense. So it was very hard to learn. We did not have access to a lot of stuff. But this was amazing, and where it all started was this article. This was from Fyodor. Can anyone say which? This tool is still so relevant these days. Nmap, right? So 1997, there is this hacker, and these are the, these were the role models. Like when I read that, I'm like, man, this guy is awesome. I want to be like him. He open sourced his code, and he wrote about, scanning the entire internet. I was like, can you do that? Isn't it so awesome? Like you're able to scan and ping every computer which is connected to the internet. It just seems so cool. But that was the start, and eventually, then I pursued a formal computer science or bachelor's, which I did in Bangalore, and I got into the industry. But like many of you, because every time I come to India, or majority of the security researchers, this whole thing about bug bounties is huge, right? In India especially. And I've seen that, and I'm not saying that it's like others are not there, but bug bounty is pretty big. It's good. But, to me, when I started, I also wanted to be a vulnerability researcher. I wanted to find those loopholes. I want to make systems better. And that was my goal. Like when I, of course, I was inspired by all of these guys, Also the movies, right? The movies are an inspiration to a lot of us. So I wanted to be that guy. But it so happened that I got a role in a SOC as an analyst. And I was like, when I started that role, I looked at it as a stepping stone to what I wanted to do. But when I got into that role, I started seeing this real world attacks, right? That was like, this is so awesome. Because a lot of that offensive stuff which I knew, I started using that to detect these attacks on what we were looking at, right? And I found and figured so many new attacks, and I got hooked. I was like, this is awesome. Because now, whatever I've learned, I'm able to use it in so many ways to actually defend against these real-world adversaries. So to me, that was amazing. So there was a choice, right? The red pill or the blue pill. I took the blue pill. But the red pill is also important. It's not that, if you do offensive stuff, it's not important. You got to do that. But at the end of the day, all these cyber defense teams you see, we have red teamers, you have the offensive security guys, but they all fall under the cyber defense umbrella, right? Your goal is to defend. Your goal is to protect. even though you are doing offensive. Unless, of course, you are a nation state. There are some governments in the world where they are actually openly saying, hey, you want to be a nation state, come and join us. And these are very matured ones. You probably know who they are. But it's just a thing. It's like joining a defense team, like, an army or whatever, for your own country. So to other nations, if you are an adversary, you are an enemy, right? So it's the same concept. So as I started, I got involved with a global research community. Can somebody say what logo is this? Absolutely, HoneyNet project. And I got introduced to the HoneyNet project. It's a non-profit organization again. I got introduced to them around 2007, 2008. And there was a conference in Paris, the HoneyNet Global Conference. And once I went there, trust me, I'm not exaggerating, that was the time when I met those people in that room. I felt like this is the first time I met my type of people, right? In my entire life. Because I always felt like I was a misfit everywhere growing up, yes, I had friends and all, but something was missing. And when I met these people, and they were from all over the world, Latin America, Europe, Asia, Australia, all over the world. But we all connected. We were these introverts, I'm actually, while I may be speaking here, by nature, I'm an introvert. I don't socialize as much as typically, how people do. So, and in that room, I could see all of these girls and guys, they were all introverts, but we all connected. We were excited about who is doing what. Some guy was like, hey, I spent this whole 12 hours hacking code. Not that hacking means hacking into some network. Hacking code means innovating, building something awesome. And that's when I learned how to really track, throughout the years with honeypots, build unique honeypots, whether it is low interaction, high interaction. And the whole name changed to being this whole thing called as a deceptive technology, or, deception is a big thing these days, right? But honeypots the honeypot, the HoneyNet project or the honeypots back then, which was being developed, was there for a long time, or a long time. So, couple of things. So while I started doing this type of research, I just wanted to highlight there's not a big thing, but just took an example of this case study. I was looking at, over the years we started exposing a lot of campaigns, targeting influential people, targeting governments. So my area was Asia Pacific. I was just telling a while ago to one of the co-speakers that I had discovered a targeted attack towards the ambassador of India, who was based in Afghanistan, just before Prime Minister Modi had visited, right? So there was this interesting time. But those type of campaigns I've published several times, but one of it is that we have always had challenges. No matter what we do, we have challenges in the industry, and I think we were talking about similarities earlier. And how do there is a challenge on finding similar malware families. There are some efforts like SSD, fuzzy hashes, and a few others which were not very effective. So I was like, why just constrain our way of doing things to just how the industry has been doing? Why not look at other areas? So there were a lot of people in other industries like biotech and other places where they were utilizing data science uniquely. And this is where I used their same technology, and this is where that hacker mindset came in, that I went outside of the box to use that technique to find similar malwares or new malware families which was unknown. And this has been actually, the malware family here I named, the whole cluster was Cur down. It's actually also on MITRE ATT&CK website. And an interesting insight, with these kind of findings, you can actually identify the patterns of these bad guys. So you can see here, over a period of time, these guys work from 9 to 6, or 9 to 5. Sometimes once or twice they worked overtime. But you will know their patterns. You will know their working. You can see Monday to Friday. We all love Fridays, isn't it? So you can see here, even bad guys are no different. They are like, they get lazy. But trust me, so I published, and I also presented this research at RSA. And the talk is on YouTube, so you can learn like how I did it. It's the whole video is there. But once I published it, those guys went and changed it. Not that I lost that pattern, but really the pattern was Monday to Friday. They get very busy on the first 4 days. But where I'm going with this is when we have published something like this, it trickles down. So Amnesty International took the same research, and then they found that a lot of the targeting of this threat actor was against activists. And that kind of insight I did not have, right? So Amnesty International, I'm sure a lot of you guys know about them. And these guys, they named Cur down, the same malware family which I discovered, I published, just the following year. I believe it was the following year which they published their research. And I wanted to highlight something. When I actually presented this and a few other, probably not this, a few other campaigns at B-Sides Delhi, if I remember correctly, 2019. And there was this guy who came up to me, and he was this very young dude, like probably just out of college or still in college, and he was fascinated with what he saw, and he wanted to be or learn that, right? And majority of the guys also there, they were interested, but this particular guy, he followed up. A lot of people are excited, but they don't follow up. They followed up. He told me what he wants to, and I gave him, okay, this is and I have done that a lot of times, but not many people come back saying that, okay, I've done this, now what? And this guy, I won't name, but he actually is a very, his research is being published quite significantly these days. So I'm super happy. And some of the law enforcement stuff, right? And where I was talking about challenging the status quo is, also now let's touch a bit on the cybercrime part. In our industry, a lot of times whenever you talk about collaboration with law enforcement, there is a thing, majority of people say, hey, law enforcements are slow, dude, that's a waste of time. And I'm not talking about the regional or the state level law enforcement, I'm talking about global law enforcement. Some of the very well-known agencies globally, right? Even for them, people in our industry, there are some biased outlook. Hey, it's a waste of time. We would rather go and do some cool research. To me, it was different. Like, I looked at it, if we don't do it, if we don't collaborate, who else will? We have the skills. We have what they don't have. Why don't we collaborate? Our goal, our purpose is to fight the bad guys. You can't go and, like the movies, you can't actually go and bang on the bad guy's door. You need authorities. And I was so glad that we had the opportunity to do something with Interpol. And when Interpol saw that what we could do or help them with, we signed an agreement. For the first time, you can see the smile on my face. I was so happy because all that effort finally paid off, that, we are doing something official. But over the years, once we did this was just a start. Then there were multiple operations. We helped Interpol take some action against the bad guys, right? Over the years, like ransomware, campaigns from Africa, and globally, and it's just not here. I mean, I've just shared some of the examples from Interpol because it's there on the press release. A lot of the other cool things I can't even share in this public space, but there are lots of things which, myself and some of the counterparts I have worked with, we have done some damage to the bad guys, right? Including being arrested, and they have been taken to court, and probably they are serving time behind bars. So, I mean, I'm super proud of that kind of work, and it is that collaborative effort, right? But you got to take that leap. You got to challenge the status quo. If we don't, nobody else will, right? It's not that you have to be a rebel. Don't be that. You know, the typical idea of challenge and rebel to me is different. You know, be understanding, understand the challenges in the industry, tackle it in a way which is acceptable to the other parties. You know, show what is in it for them, right? Show what is in it for the society. Who benefits? There should be, you know, everyone looks at what is in it for me. You know, I've heard that so many times. What is ROI? What do we get? But you need to understand that that's how the world is. But we got to understand that and approach it that way, right? Okay, so this was, I think, anyways, I have less than 10 minutes, but this was probably after an operation we had law enforcement from entire Africa. This was the first time this has ever happened. And this could have only happened because of Interpol, but you know, we were part of that campaign, and I'm super proud of those kind of work which we have done. Like there was this press release will give you more details on, you know, amount of crypto, amount of not only crime stuff, but also human trafficking, crime against children, and those kind of stuff, right? Just a small case ballooned into a bigger thing. So having that global impact, it gives you, while I say I'm getting goosebumps, because it reminds me of those days, what we had done. Anyways, so going back, I mean, we were having some discussions today and even yesterday about, you know, what is it like? You know, will the AIs take? Well, it will not if you have that hacker mindset, but we have to, I would say, weaponize AI, or not, you know, that's a very aggressive word, but probably use AI for the same purpose, right? The purpose doesn't change. If you're purposeful, you know the goal, you have the mission, you just want to achieve that through whatever. It is amazing because when OpenAI released, I just immediately saw the potential or possibilities. Of course, the accuracy is a thing, right? We were talking about accuracies over a period of time. This will change, this will get better. But this is inevitable. The disruption has happened, and we need to know, based on our capabilities, how can we capitalize this technology which is available to us, right? So there is no way, if you push back on this, it will probably not be good for anyone. But this is where. But one other thing I wanted to share here was, of course, I mentioned about the hacker mindset and all the ethos, which is important. Is there a mistake here? Do you see any mistake in this image? Yes, two purposes. And I'm you know, this is an AI generated image, by the way, right? So what I wanted to show is, and I did not do this by purpose. But this was not my purpose, right? So there were two, and this is where I'm talking about. They are not perfect, right? They will do things, but it is up to us to ensure that we are probably the human in the loop. We are still relevant. You know, it's never going to take away, but we want to do something and utilize them to achieve our goals. At least that is how I look at it, right? I'm sure that many people have their own versions, and I don't want to be the pessimist, but I'm an optimist. I've always been an optimist, and I will remain an optimist to see how can I utilize this for my mission and goal, right? So, to me, as I said, what comes next, we have to define it, right? To me, I see hackers as the people who protect the internet and who has defended the internet against malicious actors. Of course, adversaries will be there, whether in the real world or cyberspace, and they will also evolve. There are so many campaigns happening using AI. That's not going to, you know, that is an eventuality, right? So I just wanted to close our talk with this, where you keep the ethos in the mind, ensure that you understand this, but super important, be purposeful. Okay? And I think, Hitesh already mentioned, I think this is a great lineup of speakers for the entire 2 days. This is amazing. I was talking to a few of the other speakers and just listening to the topic. I mean, I am excited to learn from them, and I hope you all are too. So all the best. But one thing, I have one last slide, almost like a trivia. I thought this would be a fun way to end. Can somebody say which movie is this and what tool is being used? It's easy though. Yeah, who's that guy? Somebody else. Who's that? Somebody said? Not Mr. Robot. So I heard the answer here. No? I heard somebody actually said it immediately. Yeah, that's the one. Who's that? Okay, Adarsh, okay. Unfortunately, I don't have the stickers because the printing got delayed, but I had stickers for these trivia answers, but probably next time we meet. I think somebody also said the answer. It's Die Hard 4, where this guy was using Nmap. Again, these guys were fighting some nasty people online, right? So these are the hackers. This movie. Wonderful, who's that? Okay, this is a very old movie, good one. I'm sure that these are a lot of these movies which has actually inspired hackers early days, right? War games it is. You are a young guy, but I appreciate you answering that because it's fascinating, right? This one is easy. Not very old. This is the easiest, I thought. Who's that? Yes? Matrix, which part? Yeah, Matrix Reloaded. Good. You guys are awesome. Yes, Matrix Reloaded, where Trinity hacks into a power grid, right? And this is awesome. Again, it's amazing that the same tool which started my career, that open source, it's been used in these movies, right? Nmap is amazing. It's still one of the relevant. I was reading a book on hacking APIs, GraphQL APIs, just a few days ago, and that author was using Nmap to a lot of those that research he was sharing in that book. So it's amazing. It's like Nmap has, they have crossed 25 years and it's still so relevant. And there are many other really startups who have built their capabilities using just Nmap and a few others probably. Anyways, thanks for your time. Thanks for listening to me. And dhanyavad. Thanks so much.